This video shows the advanced features of the MP2. We're going to go through all the selector switch functions and the multifunction buttons, but first we're going to start with the pendant becoming disabled. It comes powered up disabled, as you notice at the red flashing status light that's in the little O in microcircuits. To enable the pendant, we press down and hold for a second the joystick button. The pendant light turns green, solid green. We can now jog the axes, as well as any of the start, stop, and multifunction buttons. To manually disable the pendant, you just press the joystick button again and hold it down for 1 second, and the light goes back to red, slow flashing red, and then you can't accidentally start anything up. Once again, the pause and stop switches are always active. This is a safety feature. We're going to start with the far counterclockwise position of 0. Now, as I've stated several times before, this pendant is a keyboard emulator. It does nothing more than simulate you pressing the keystrokes on your keyboard. For instance, when we jog left or right, that's like hitting the arrow keys. If we speed up the jog, that's like hitting a shift and arrow keys, and so on. The first position, the 0 position, means all valid axes will return to their DRO position 0. That's equivalent to holding down the control key and pushing an O. If you'll notice, we have our axis set at a particular position. By pressing the go-to button while in 0 mode, it will move to wherever 0 is. We can show you that on the mock screen. The next position is the Safe Z position. And if you have Safe Z enabled in your mock screens, then by pushing the go-to button when this selector switch is pointing there, should raise your Z to the Safe Z position. I'll do that now. It's a simple operation. It's the same as pushing down the Alt key and the Z key on the keyboard. The next selector is the Tool C or Tool Change button. This is handy because, especially if you have a larger machine than what you're seeing here, and it's time to change the tool, and the spindle is a far distance away from you, by pressing the Tool Change button, you can have it come to you so you can change the tool. This position that it comes to is set in the settings screen on the mock. It is the same as pushing the keyboard Alt key down and T as in Tom key. By pushing that go-to button, we'll see it come to us. And now we can change the tool. Next is the Ref All button, or Reference All Home. This is the same as pressing the home key on the keyboard, and will send all the axes to your limit switches or to your home switches. By pressing the go-to button on that, they'll go. First the Z, then the Y, then the X. Next, we'll show the rewind button. We'll zoom in on the screen a little so you can see it better. There's some G code that's been started, and we want to rewind it. So what I'll do Just put that out here and show you that by pushing this button, when the selector is in rewind, we'll rewind that code. See? Simple. The rewind command is no different than pressing the Control and W key on the keyboard. Next selector switch position is the macro position. These three multifunction buttons are labeled at the top Mac 1, Mac 2, and ZTO. The ZTO, or Z-axis touch-off, is a complicated macro that will be explained in a separate video. The Mac 1 and Mac 2 keys we provide for user-written macros. That is, macros that they've written to go in Mach that are triggered by these keys. Each one of these keys puts out a particular key code or scan code. The Mac 1 key produces an F1. The Mac 2 key produces an F2. We've shown you earlier the X and Y axis and Z axis movements with the joystick. So we'll kind of focus in on the DROs right now. Now you'll see that the DROs, in fact let's make something in the Z DRO show some movement. Now, while we're in X and Y positions of the selector switch, we have two multifunction buttons down here that obtain that. One is called Z1 and the other is called Z2. If I can zoom out a little bit and see if I can get you to see this all together. Actually, I'll do it the other way. It'll be easier. By pressing the Z1 button, we zero the X-axis, as you'll see here. By pressing the Z2 button, we zero the Y-axis, as you see here. The same thing happens when you move to the ZA position for Z and auxiliary. Now my auxiliary is not connected here, but by pressing the Z1 button, it zeroes the Z-axis. This can be very handy when you need to reference or zero something and you're not near your keyboard and mouse. The next position is at the S override or spindle speed override position. You have two buttons here. One is toggle and one is reset. You also have the joystick control. I can toggle the spindle on by pressing the toggle button, and you see it come on. I can then, with the joystick, lower the spindle speed. As you notice, it works much like the increment speed. One touch lowers it one increment. I can also increase it, and if I want, reset it to normal by pushing the reset button. Then I can toggle it off. Last but not least, we have our feed rate override position. Now this position also has the reset button active as well as the joystick. So we can increase our feed rate, as you see, by moving the joystick up, and do the same thing with moving the joystick down, and we can also reset it. We tried to put as many functions that were practically possible in the mini pendant. Not all will be used by all people, but we didn't want to leave major ones out. We hope we've covered that area. Thank you.